He came to us from the Roger Williams Zoo in Providence, Rhode Island when he was 11 months old back in 2008. When he got here, him and Tessa and 3 other giraffes that we used to have here started off the herd. When Kimba was first year, interesting fact, I worked up here the year it opened. Kimba's head didn't even reach to the bottom of the decade. He was really small and really cute. And now he's really big and still really cute. Out there in the middle is Cinci. Cinci's 8 years old. She came to us from Kansas City. She came, I want to say, roughly 5 years ago. In the very back, some of you might be able to see her head poking out. That's Tessa. Tessa's the oldest giraffe in the herd. She's 12. She came to us from the Houston Zoo. Again, she was one of the original 5. So her and Kimba have both been here for about 11 years. And then way over here on the left is Zoe. Zoe's the youngest giraffe that we have. She's 2.5. She'll be 3 in September. So she was born here, and she's going to stay here for a little while, at least that we know of. So a lot of people ask about their characters or what they're like, and do they differentiate between the 4 of them? They do. So Zoe, starting with the youngest one, she's our flighty girl. Everything scares Zoe, even though she was born in captivity. And it's ironic because her mother, named Jumbo, who used to live here and now lives up in Columbus, Jumbo was polar opposite of Zoe. Jumbo was never afraid of anything. Jumbo would do anything for food. She would go do anything we asked her to do training-wise, never scared of anything. Zoe runs at the sight of anything new. Kimba's attitude, he's a boy, he's got an attitude. He's a good boy when he wants to be. We do a lot of operant conditioning with these guys, which is training. Operant conditioning is kind of a fancy word for positive reinforcement. So basically, we ask these guys to perform something that we need them to do, and if they don't do it, they don't get a consequence. They just don't get a reward. So if they do what we ask them to do, they get treats. Treats for them are beet pulp. We have these little tiny red biscuits that are meant for lemurs, but they love them. They're called leaf eater biscuits. And then we also have rye crackers. If you've ever seen the Wassa crackers at Kroger, it's exactly what these guys love. Back in the day when we used to do giraffe feedings, that's what we used to sell instead of the lettuce. So these guys are pretty used to them, and they work really well for him. Kimba has his moments where he has some days like yesterday where he would do anything for food, and then this morning he would do nothing. We tried to do training with him before we put him outside, and he was not having any of it. Cinci is our quiet girl. She's very willing to do anything that we ask of her. However, when she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't throw a fit about it. She just very slowly backs up and goes, no thank you. She's very polite. She's not a kicker either. Tessa, on the other hand, is a kicker, and so is Kimba. So those 2 are the biggest attitudes out of the group. Tessa's very willing to train. She's very willing to do anything we ask of her, but when she doesn't want to, it's over. She doesn't politely tell us no. She kicks at us. So speaking of kicking, that's their main defense out in the African savannah. They don't have very many predators out in the wild. Lions will take down a younger one sometimes or a sick one, but lions have been known to be decapitated by a giraffe because they can kick their legs in any direction they please, and with a lot of force behind it. So that's our herd that we have now. I'm sure most of you have heard that Cinci and Tessa are both pregnant. Tessa's actually due at the end of June, possibly beginning of July, and Cinci is due sometime October, November. So to talk about the anatomy of a giraffe, they are the weirdest looking animal in my opinion on the African savannah. They can stand anywhere from 14 to 17 feet tall. Kimba is roughly 16 and a half feet tall. The 2 adult females, Cinci and Tessa, are about 14, and Zoe right now is pushing 11. So Zoe, even a couple months ago, couldn't reach the enrichment stuff that we have out there that she's licking on right now. So what you see Zoe doing is playing with enrichment. Enrichment is something that we put in the yard for animals to do while they're here. So every day we have 3 pulleys in the giraffe yard. We have that one that Zoe's playing with. We have one in the back, and then we have one over here. In the morning, we lower the 2 side ones, and then in the afternoon, midday, we lower the back ones so that they have something to do later on. We do the public giraffe feedings, and you guys are going to be able to feed when I'm done talking to all of you. We lower the back one. We give them a break to kind of roam around. Otherwise, they're standing in one spot all day. And then we also have enrichment inside the barn. If any of you happen to look through the big windows, you can see things hanging from the ceilings. Giraffe only sleep 2 to 4 hours a day. Interesting fact. They are wide awake most of the time, and they do sleep standing up for the most part. So what we do is when we come in, we clean their yard and put them out here for you guys to see, and then we clean the inside. And then we have 4 pulleys. We have 4 stalls inside, so each stall has a pulley, and we raise them all the way to the ceiling. And then we have night keepers that are here till almost midnight, and they come in later on during the night and drop those so that these kids have something else to do and they're not just standing around. You are pouting. So when I say Kimba's got an attitude, this is what he does when he's angry. He has no way of kicking me right now, so he's just mad. He's got food in feeders. He's got hay. He doesn't want it. They are prehensile tongues. These guys are browsers, so they don't typically eat grass. Every once in a while, you'll see them get lazy and lay down out here and chew on grass while they're lying down. But for the most part, they just eat out of trees. Giraffe can eat up to 75 pounds of food per day. We don't necessarily feed them that here, or we would have a very obese giraffe because they're not walking miles and miles all day. But they do get 8 pounds of lettuce a day. We also give them alfalfa hay, which is in these hay feeders, and inside that's free choice. And then they do get a variety of browse. We have browse shipped in from California and Florida. Sometimes it comes up in big fancy boxes. We also have our commissary department that follows around an electric company out in Indiana and cuts browse down and brings them to the zoo. And then they can freeze some of those things for wintertime, because obviously in winter we don't have trees with leaves on them. So we get those in for these guys at least 3 times a week, which is good for them. And then they also get a grain. There's a brand called Missouri Diet that does primarily zoo diets. So most of the animals in the zoo get this Missouri grain. It's just a fully nutritional vitamin mineral thing that these guys need. And they all get roughly 8 to 10 pounds of that a day. So in the wild, they would eat just leaves out of the tree. They don't have all the fancy food that we have here. And so they use that prehensile tongue. They'll actually wrap it around a branch and pull, and it strips all the leaves off of it. You'll also notice, if you can see Cinci licking a tree, the tongue is purple because they can't eat so much food and they are awake so often. They're eating most of that time that they're awake. That purple color tongue prevents them from getting sunburned, so that's why it's that dark color. Their closest living relative is the okapi. They also have that purple tongue. They're also browsers, but the okapi live in the Congo. They live in the deep rainforest. These guys do have the same amount of neck bones as all mammals. All mammals have 7. Giraffes have 7 as well. They're just very large. Another large thing about their body is their heart. Their heart can weigh about 25 pounds and be about 2 feet long. Obviously, they need to pump blood all the way up that neck, which is why it's so large. Giraffe are also specially equipped with different valves in their body. When giraffe have to bend down for anything, mostly it's to get a drink. If they didn't have these special valves in their neck and in their hearts, when they bent down, they would pass out. So those valves regulate the blood flow to their head, so it's not too fast, not too slow. Giraffe are he's going to try and eat the tree instead of eating all the other stuff. So giraffe are very vulnerable. Like I said, not many things hunt them in the wild unless they're sick or young. The one time they are vulnerable is when they go down to drink. If you've ever seen them do it here, sometimes they do. We have a drinker on the side of the building. We don't force them to drink out of the pond, but they do it anyway. It's very awkward looking. They have to bend their front legs and get almost all the way down. And it's not an easy situation for them to get back up. If you've ever seen one lay down, you've watched them lay down. It takes them roughly 30 seconds to lay all the way down. It's also an awkward thing for them to get up, which is, again, why they sleep standing up most of the time. But that's their most vulnerable part. A lot of people ask about the pregnancy of the giraffe. These guys' gestation is 14 to 15 months, so Tessa's been cooking since last March. We're really excited. This is Tessa's 4th calf here at the zoo. She's successfully raised 3 other ones. So she's a super mom. She's very protective. She knows what she's doing. Cinci has had a calf here. She had Cora back in July of 2016. And Cora was sent to the Roger Williams Zoo where Kimba came from just this past year. In the fall of last year, she went over. So Cinci's a pretty good mom. The maternal instincts didn't kick in quite as well as it did for Tessa, but she rocked it out eventually. She got it all situated. He's still eating the tree. So yes, even though we put all this beautiful stuff out here for them, they will always manage. You'll see that the trees are wrapped in chain link. Originally, when we did not do that, they killed almost every tree that was out here when this place was built. So we have to wrap everything, and still they end up finding random things to chew on. Oh, the other thing about their eating habits. So if you know goats, they have a soft palate up in the front. These guys are the same way. They don't have any front top teeth. They only have molars all the way in the back, up and down. And then they do have bottom teeth. I can assure you it still hurts if your fingers get caught in that palate. We laugh because if we're doing training and they're a little sketchy about the situation, they angry eat, and that's when your fingers get in the way sometimes. So speaking of training, what do we train these guys to do? Obviously these guys come outside every day. That's not necessarily training, that's just a routine that these guys can get into. But the one thing that we train primarily for on these guys is blood draw and hoof care. So just like a horse needs hoof care, in the wild there have been studies that compare wild giraffe and captive giraffe, and the wild giraffe's feet are better because they're walking miles and miles and miles a day. Here, they're not so much. We have the platform, so they eat most of the day. We give them time to walk around, but it's not the same. Back in the day, we were always told hoof care on a giraffe is not possible, but it truly is. It's come a long way. Even in the 10 years that I've been here, it's come here a long way. So what we do with these guys is we have this big box, and it's got a fire hose over it, and we have a styrofoam foam roller underneath there, and it's just a big 1.5 foot box, 5 foot, and we actually ask them for each foot. So we're only doing front feet right now, but essentially we bring them up to straps and we can say left or right and ask them, and they actually do know. It's always been told they're really stupid, there's no way to train them. They're smarter than we think. So we can ask them left or right, and they will actually put it up on that box and curl it under, and then the second person can grab their foot and work on their hoof. Like I said, it's come a long way. Hoof care is important for these guys because they're so big. If something goes wrong with the hoof, then something goes wrong with the knee, then something goes wrong with the shoulder, and of their size and stature, it's a big deal. So we do that with the females for now. Kimba, Mr. Attitude, is not fond of his feet being touched. So we are working very slowly, but very hard. We do it almost every day that the two of us are here. We've been working with the girls for over 1.5 years, and we can now successfully work on their front feet. Blood draw is another big thing. There's many reasons we would need blood, just like any kind of blood work for humans, and that is taken from their jugular vein up by their neck, up by their mandible. So again, we desensitize them to being touched on the face and being touched on the neck, and the vet techs come in and help us, and that sort of thing, because there are people that do that. I'm going to open this up to questions, because I'm currently having a brain fart, and let's think of this for now. If you guys have questions, just raise your hands and then I can answer it. God. Nothing. God.
When the vet see lower level trees and bushes, they don't eat the leaves off the bushes?
No, they don't. So he asked the little sections in the middle here. There's actually like little gullies that are dug out so that giraffe like even ground. They don't like going up and down hills. So actually, if you look around, none of this exhibit is actually fenced in, but with anything. It's just all a big hill. Giraffe like really flat ground. They don't like going up or down. It's just awkward with their long legs. They can't see that. I mean, they have great eyesight, but a depth perception of where they're walking is hard. So no, they don't. If they can lean over and get it, yes, they'll eat it, but they won't for the most part. Go ahead. How do you transport a giraffe? A very large trailer that barely fits under all the bridges. When we do that sort of thing, so for instance, we shipped out Cora last fall, we shipped out Jumbo last March. Jumbo was a larger animal. She was roughly 14, 15 feet tall. So if you can, I know you can't see it from over here, you see in the back right corner, there's a whole bunch of sticks that are lined up on a hillside. There's actually a gate and then a parking lot above that. So there is one person in this country, 1 or 2 people in the whole country that transport giraffe. That is their job. He's got a special trailer for it. He backs it. We take all those sticks down. We back that trailer up to the barn. And if you can see in the windows at some point when we're done talking and everything, the hallway that the humans walk through essentially becomes a chute. So we can open up the stall doors and they lock into the wall. And then we let the animal out and they walk down, and we actually have a gate that can roll all the way behind them just to coerce them to keep going forward, not turn around, otherwise we'd be here all day. And then it butts all the way up to the door, and then they walk on. Honestly, both giraffe that we shipped out last March and in the fall took only roughly 20 minutes to get them on there. It's got a double door, it's got a place to hang food in there, they have hay in there the whole trip. So It's a long drive. Well, Jumbo's was not. She went all the way to Columbus, so it was only 2 hours. It wasn't very long. But that is true. It's a very large horse trailer. Jumbo could not necessarily stand completely upright, just hunched a little bit. But again, that was a shorter ride. We typically don't ship full-grown adults once they have found a home for that reason. We don't want to ship them long distances and have them not be able to stand all the way up. But Cora was only about 10 feet tall, so she could stand all the way up, and she had a longer drive up to Providence, Rhode Island. Go ahead.
I was wondering, when I saw Andrea Giraffe had a baby, she was kept by herself all the time.
So the birthing plan for us, so for instance, Tessa is due at the end of the month. Actually today, what we're going to do is heavily bed one of the stalls in here. We're gonna leave Tessa out in the yard for when the public is here, and then we'll bring her in just like we do every night. Usually overnight, we leave Kimba in his own stall, and we leave the girls with the other 3 stalls. All 3 of them can meander back and forth together. But since Tessa is now officially a month away from what we counted, we will keep her in that heavily bedded stall so that if overnight she does have a calf, it's not falling on the concrete, it's falling on a 1.5 foot of bedding. And then the idea is once she has the calf, we'll keep her inside with the calf for 5-7 days, and then it'll be out with the rest of the group.
Do you know about where she's going to get with her camera?
Yeah, so we do have cameras in the barn. They run 24 hours a day. We also have volunteers that are going to come in, and once we get closer to the due date, we counted the days, essentially. We have records of all her other calves and just how many days it took between the last breeding that we saw and when she actually calved. So we have it roughly pinpointed around June 24th. So about a week before then, we'll have the volunteers watch at night. We're going to be here all day. For the most part, somebody's here till 9 o'clock at night, and then from 9 to 6 before we come back, we'll have volunteers that watch overnight. They set up over at the cruise station, and they have their own little room with refrigerators and stuff like that, and they stay awake, and then they give us the calls. Anything else? I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. Like I said, how many do we keep? So our barn can comfortably fit 4 or 5 adults and 2 calves. When we had Zoe and Cora, they were both roughly between 1 and 2 years old, and then we had these 3 adults and 1 more, and that was enough. That was 6, so it was 4 full adults and 2 juveniles. And that was about our quota. I wouldn't say I would go any more than that. We especially can't keep another bull at this point, so if Cinci or Tessa has a male baby, which, knock on wood, we've gotten lucky, all of them have been female at this point. So we've had 4, 3, okay, 5 girls. We've had 5 girls. If they were to have a bull calf, the calf could get to about 1.5 years old, and then we'd have to ship it somewhere else. Just because, like I said, when we had the original herd that showed up 11 years ago, we had 3 males and 2 females, and I can assure you it didn't take us very long to figure out that's not going to work. Go ahead. So what she asked is, have we ever had other giraffe besides Maasai? I did forget to mention that. These are Maasai giraffe. There are 9 subspecies of giraffe. Actually, there's a debate now. So one of our team members just went to a giraffe conference, and there's a giant debate in the giraffe world of how many subspecies are there? Are there actual 4 species with 2 subspecies, or 9 subspecies? Whatever you want. I was always taught 9 subspecies. These are Maasai. They are the largest. I think the zoo had a retake maybe a long time ago, but not in my 10 years being here. We've always had the Maasai. So the Maasai giraffe, like I said, are the largest. The bulls can get upwards of 2,500 pounds. Kimba's at 2,300 pounds. The 2 adult females, one is about, Cece's 1,700 pounds, Tessa's about 1,800 pounds. They also are pregnant, so you have to figure in that extra weight. And Zoe, we call her our little chunky girl. If you ever see her belly, she's very round. At 2.5, she's about 1,100 pounds. And then has finally decided to give up and eat what he's supposed to. So, if you guys don't have any more questions,
like just start with the giraffe and then stay with the giraffe for all this?
Me personally, no. So I did start with the giraffe. I was originally hired in the giraffe and elephant house. Those used to be one department. And then when I got hired officially full time, I went to the cat department, or the old nocturnal house first. Can't forget. If you all are from here and you remember the old nocturnal house, I started in there. They merged the nocturnal house and the cat house and made night hunters, and I was there until 2017. And then an opening came back over here, and I wanted to come back. So the Africa department takes care of giraffe, lion, these flamingos, the savannah yard that you see out there, the wild dogs, the meerkats, and Fiona. Everybody
That
knows
would be
Fiona.
the ideal job.
Yeah. Go ahead. Average age span of a giraffe. Captivity versus wild. Wild is roughly 15-20 years. Captivity is usually 20 to 25. Healthcare, constant food makes that age in captivity go up. Sometimes. I know I was not here for Cora nor Zoe's birth. I know that when Zoe was born and the call went out, most people made it in time. Roughly when they start showing signs that it's happening, you have still like an hour. But it depends. Sometimes they fall out really fast, just like humans. Some days it can take hours and hours and hours, and other times it doesn't. I know for Cora's birth, a lot of people saw it, and Zoe, I think Zoe was the one that was mid-morning. Like, she was born around 10 o'clock in the morning, so everybody got to watch Zoe. Now it's starting to rain, so these things are empty up. Well, if you guys don't have questions, I do have lettuce if you guys want to eat. I assume that's something. Let me try and get their attention and move them over here.